Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to From a Certain Point of View. I am Josh, one half of the From a Certain Point of View podcast. And today I'm going to be breaking down my top five films of 2021. 2021 for me was a pretty big year in film. There were a lot of films that I was really looking forward to, especially because so many of them had been delayed due to COVID and were coming out. Things that I was really anticipating, No Time to Die, Ghostbusters Afterlife, um, The Matrix, to name just a few. And so I'm going to break down my top five films of 2021, but I want to start with some honorable mentions. These didn't quite make it into the top five, even though they were movies I was really looking forward to and enjoyed. The first one I'm going to mention is Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve. You all know, if you listen to the podcast, that I love saying his name now that I actually know how to say it. But Dune, I was really looking forward to. And I read half of the book leading up to this movie, which, of course, only shows half of the first book. And so I read half of the book and was excited, and I watched it, and I thought it was an excellent translation from book to screen. I thought, Denis Villeneuve and company did a fantastic job of translating that book. I don't think anybody could have done a better job, specifically with translating it from book to screen. It was epic. It was huge. The visuals were great. Um, it was slow in some parts, especially if you weren't a book reader. I could see where it would be maybe hard to follow. And even for me who read it, I needed a couple viewings to really know how much I appreciated it. Again, it didn't make my top five, but I had to mention Dune. The other one I want to mention is The Matrix Resurrections, which recently came out December 22nd. I saw it in IMAX, and then I watched it on HBO Max. And the first time when I saw it on IMAX, again, I thought the visuals were impressive. I enjoyed it overall, but there were some things I didn't enjoy that much. It was kind of a mixed bag of things that I liked and didn't like about that film. Being a huge Matrix fan, I think the first one is the best, but I enjoyed the whole trilogy. Um, and I wanted to see these characters return. I felt like, Carrie Ann Moss and Keanu Reeves did a great job stepping back into those roles, and they did a fantastic job. It was like they didn't miss a beat. This story is very meta, which I just recently learned what that means. um, but it kind of makes commentary on itself. That's basically what meta is, I guess. And it is in that way. It's very aware of its own existence. The whole premise is basically that Neo is back in the Matrix. And spoiler warning here, he's back in the Matrix, and he's basically he's the creator of the video game trilogy, The Matrix. And so, there were aspects of that I enjoyed, some aspects that I didn't. There were definitely some cheesy aspects of the dialogue. I didn't believe in the villains too much. As much as I love Neil Patrick Harris and Jonathan Groff and thought they did a fine job, I just didn't believe in them as villains. They came off more as silly to me. But I think overall, having Neo and Trinity come back and giving their characters another chance at their love story, I thought was very nice. It was a great way to approach that movie. I didn't care too much about the other characters, but overall, I did enjoy it. And I also want to mention King Richard as an honorable mention because I thought that was a fantastic film. Will Smith gives just another fantastic performance that I think he deserves to be awarded for, whether it be the Oscars or other award shows. And I thought it was just a great film, a great feel good story. There are parts of tremendous trial and adversity in this film, but overall, it's a nice feel good story about Serena and Venus Williams and their father and their story. But let's get to the top five films of 2021 for me. Coming in at number five is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Um, this is a film that many fans, myself included, had been asking for ever since 2017. Joss Whedon's Justice League. I was not impressed with that. I just didn't like it. I thought the editing felt weird. You could tell there were two different directors that had kind of worked on this film. It was very disjointed to me. Um, the acting again, dialogue was, some of it was cheesy and just not well done, and it just felt like there were a lot of pieces that were missing, a lot of things that were left on the cutting room floor. But Zack Snyder's cut, I thought was brilliant. It's very lengthy, you know, but you can watch it into parts. You know, it's basically split up into kind of six parts. You know, where you have kind of the an epilogue and a prologue, and then you have four chapters in the middle. Um, and so that's an option. You know, if you're watching it on streaming and it's a little lengthy, but I think even though it is a little bit long, it really gives a chance for those characters and the villains to really be expanded upon, and we really get that the character journey with all the characters. And then the villains with the addition of Darkseid, I thought was great, and just how he looked visually, the CGI was very impressive, and I thought overall the visuals and the CGI was impressive in this film. The dialogue was much improved upon. um, it was just great to see Zack Snyder's vision. So number five, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Coming in next at number 4 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, or should I say Shang-Chi. um, and this was a hero that I was not familiar with, but it became a character that I cared deeply about by the end of the film. And I thought that it was just an excellent way to introduce a character. We're used to those films that have come out, like Iron Man, Captain America, and so on, that really introduce this one hero. And that's what this film does in an excellent way. Um, some of the humor didn't quite land for me, specifically the Aquafina humor in some parts, but I thought a lot of the humor did, and it worked well overall. I thought it was also great world building, and the action scenes were terrific. I'm specifically thinking about the bus scene, which was just outstanding. And then the scene on the scaffolding, that fight as well, was very well choreographed and very well done. And overall, just man, it was like coming into this world that I didn't expect. It kind of built this mystical world with all these different creatures and dragons and things that I just didn't expect, and it kind of surprised me in a very pleasant way. So number 4 is Shang-Chi. Coming in at number 3 is a film that I have been looking for a very long time. I am a huge Daniel Craig James Bond fan, and have really been enjoying that entire series. And I thought No Time to Die was a great way to conclude that series. I really enjoyed the beginning, like the first half hour. Even the very beginning is more of a horror type situation in a way. It has a horror genre feel. Um, but there's also great action. In the first 30 minutes is right after he visits Vesper's, kind of grave site or tomb or whatever it is. Um, as soon as there's that explosion there, and it sends Bond off into, he's going on this car chase trying to get Madeline, his girl, out of there. And just that whole sequence was just so impressive. I just really enjoyed all of the espionage in this film, and just the feel of this Bond film was so well done. You know, it kind of brought some of those old school elements into it again, with the music, with the car, with just a lot of those things. The one thing I didn't love about this film was the villain, Rami Malek. I think is a great actor, and but I just felt that that particular villain didn't really fit into this overall story, because most of this was all about Spectre, and Spectre being behind all the events of these Daniel Craig films. And I just didn't feel that direct connection between this villain and James Bond. But overall, really loved it. Thought it was great. And by the way, before I go any further, these are all films that I would have scored a 9 or higher, or my top five. Um, Coming in at number 2 is a film I think I've probably been waiting for since I was, since the 1990s, after I saw Ghostbusters 2. Um, in the beginning is a bit of a slow burn, and we're talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife. but I think it's a good slow burn. It's good character building, it's good story development, and we see the Phoebe character, her development and her really discovering the Ghostbusters and all the Ghostbusters tech. She discovers the PKE meter and the trap under the floorboards, and eventually sees videos of the old Ghostbusters, and Finn Wolfhard's character Trevor discovers the car, the Ecto One. So just all this awesome stuff building up to all of this. So yeah, even though it was a little bit of a slow burn, it was a good slow burn, and then we get to where it picks up with the muncher scene and Phoebe going in there with podcast and trying to take out this ghost muncher, which I loved. I thought Muncher was a great and visually stunning and excellent ghost to be catching. And she fires up the proton pack and starts lighting that thing up. It was just awesome. And then it leads to this chase scene in the town and with the Ecto One and everything. And I thought that was just fantastic, and it really got things going and moving with the story. Um, and then I also loved just the story overall and the inclusion of Gozer and them really leaning into the Gozer storyline from the first film. Ivo Shandor, I believe it was, that designed Dana Barrett's apartment building, which was kind of like this conduit for spirituality or spirits. And then also this town being built by Shandor as well, um, and kind of like this. It's almost like this Gozer worshiper location. Um, so I love that. And I also, of course, loved the return of all four Ghostbusters and seeing them in this all together. And the way that they were able to bring Egon into this and capture him visually um, was so impressive. I was moved by it. I was moved to tears by it. And I felt like this film really did something that I wanted the Star Wars sequel trilogy to do, and get all those characters together on screen again. And this did it in an amazing way. So I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. My daughter loved it. My wife loved it. We loved it. Um, so that leads us to number one, and my number one film of 2021 is Spider-Man: No Way Home. And this film is number one at the box office as I'm recording. It has made over $1 billion. It is Sony's number one film of all time. And it has already earned more than Far From Home did. And it's only been out for a couple weeks now. And while I didn't absolutely love the beginning of this film, just because I felt like it was almost too easy to get out of that situation that Peter was in, and with trying to think of that character's name, Mysterio, the Mysterio situation. I thought he somehow too easily got out of that, but it did lead to, the appearance of Charlie Cox as Matthew Murdock being his lawyer, which was awesome. So that was fantastic. Um, and I also felt like Peter's ability to convince Doctor Strange to do that spell to erase everyone's memory of him being, Spider Man. I thought he allowed that to happen a little too easily too. But even though I didn't love that, I did love what it led to, and the rest of this film just blew me away. It was amazing. My favorite movie of the year. My favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire is it's really close with this one. That's always been my favorite. Um, but I thought it was just great. I mean, the villains stepping back into their roles, Alfred Molina playing Doc Ock seamlessly, picked up right where he left off, as did Willem Dafoe with Green Goblin. And I thought they just did a fantastic job. And those villains were not just a cameo; they were a major part of this story, and their inclusion was impressive. And not to mention the return of two Spider-Men of the past with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. The way they were able to weave all this seamlessly and have so much going on, it really was the end game of Spider-Man, and I thought it was so well balanced the way they did it, and it really worked well. And I loved so many parts of this film. So many of the interactions between the different Spider-Men were just fantastic. I mean, at one point, Andrew Garfield was like cracking Tobey Maguire's back, which was great. Um, and the ending. I mean, I know a lot of people probably aren't going to be fond of the ending, but Tom Holland's Peter Parker really chooses, with great power comes great responsibility, which is a theme that is run through all of the Spider-Man films. And I really got choked up when they were talking, all three Spider-Men were talking about that quote and losing Ben, losing May. Um, and his decision to not reveal himself to MJ again, and because he saw that they were safe. Ned and MJ were protected and they were safe, and him becoming close with them again would only possibly lead to more problems and put them in danger again. So that was a very courageous act on his part, and I thought it was fitting that he ended in that apartment room, which was reminiscent of Spider-Man 2 when he went to college. Um, and he is gonna, it's gonna be the Spider-Man that we know him. I think it was a great way to kind of reset and move forward for the next trilogy. So there it is, my top 5 films of 2021. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments section. Let me know if you agree with these choices or if you had a different top 5. What was your favorite film of 2021? And be sure to stay tuned to From a Certain Point of View for your movie news, reviews, and points of view.